Hello, hello, hello. Testing. All right. Okay, well, I lost everyone, but they're starting to come back already. Great. Let's see. This is being slow to catch up. Okay, I'm glad to hear. Yeah, it's a shame to shed all my viewers like that, but on the other hand, it would be an even bigger shame to lose 40 minutes of pristine, great footage. And I had a technical hiccup. Uh, I I got through my last stream and YouTube wouldn't let me save it immediately. I don't know if YouTube is processing the footage or what it's doing, but let's see. Um, okay, I'm getting contradictory information here on my control panel, so bear with me while I try to look and see what it's. Oh no. Oh, this thing is so sensitive. Yeah, I'm struggling with my setup. I'm still going to have to learn better how to set up my monitors to make this work, I guess. Okay, so hopefully I'm broadcasting something here. Oh, you stop doing that. Okay, let's see. Well, at least I think I can bring back my fort. Oh, okay, all right. Now the information seems to be good. Okay, so hopefully my fort's coming back. All right. Well, sorry about that, everyone, but I see I'm unlosing the people I lost, and so I'm just going to keep plowing forward. Thank you very much for bearing with me. This has been very much a learning experience, but it's also fun and educational, and I'm sharing with people, and people who are not my viewers right now will hopefully see this in the future and be entertained by it, because I have so much to share, partly because I have so many hours in this. I have hours of video. These places have a history to me. These characters have a backstory to me. I know their stories well. I mean, for instance, I can click on this guy, and I recognize them. It's the mayor. It's Osush, and let's see, what can we learn about Osush? Uh, well, for one thing, their dwarven name is Osush Cuddle Romances, so you would think they would be a cuddly kind of person. Um, and they are friendly with a large number of people in the fort, but they have all sorts of interesting personality traits. Like I can look at the screen here and tell what they've been doing. For instance, he was delighted after watching a performance. He says, I saw Grizzly Adams' dye charm recite Guard in the Sludge at the Cheerful Mushroom, which is one of our several taverns. He says, I feel delight. Um, he's happy because he's been goofing off a lot lately. He felt fondness talking with a friend. He was interested near a fine table. He was interested near a completely sublime container. He was ambivalent after the delayed punishment of a criminal. Oh no. Well, perhaps I should touch on that briefly. My dwarven justice system was basically turned off after I tried to have dwarven justice, and a bunch of people got beaten up for no reason. And uh, usually my mayor doesn't ask for a whole lot of things, and he asked for a bunch of stuff, and I just plain missed it. And then he started labeling people as criminals because of that. And I was like, you know what? Forget it. I don't care about justice in the dwarven sense of the word, which is madness. The dwarves are just sort of a crazy lot, and they pick people to get beaten up. And I had someone in charge of that, and I tried to give them a adamantine hammer, which would be the lightest material in the world, basically, to beat people with. And Well, my chosen hammerer wasn't doing it, so my champion of the guard decided to do it instead. And of course, they were a great warrior, and they were going around beating the crap out of people. I couldn't have that anymore. So I tried firing them, and then I was like, you know what? Let's just turn Dwarven Justice off, and that's what's going to happen. Um, let's see. How are we doing for time here? Okay. Oh, I think I'm going to go for about 15 more minutes, and then I'm going to. Yeah, see, I got some agreement with that. I'm not the only people in the world struggling with Dwarven Justice. They are mad. They are mad little people. So let me tell stories about other people I see here that jump out at me, if any do. Oh, here's a planter. Uh, oh, let's see. I wonder if there's any good things in the sculpture garden to talk about. Uh, oh, um, let's see. What is this about? Oh, I'm looking at a guy, not a thing. Is this anything? Let's see. Description of a creature. Oh, yes. This is an exceptional siltstone statue of Bax Stealthwealthy. The item is an exceptionally designed image of Bax Stealthwealthy the elf, and Slatebolt the dwarf in siltstone. Bax Stealthwealthy is making a plaintive gesture. Slatebolt is striking a menacing pose. The artwork relates to the mortal wounding of the elf, Bax Stealthwealthy, by the dwarf Slatebolt, with Veiled Bone, the Rod of Meetings, in Swampcavern in the early winter of 130 during Das Muddamuz, the Scalded Attack. Man, try saying that 5 times fast. But anyways, that probably doesn't mean much to you because it's a bunch of gibberish, but let me translate it. The dwarf Slate Bolt, who is obviously a guy who likes slate and bolts, I know my own naming conventions that well, has a named weapon. And he named that weapon because he likes it so much. The early winter of 130 would have been 5 years after Swampcavern's founding. So we would have had noob military guys, and we would have had already a bunch of attacks by a bunch of crazy creatures by then. So we probably had some wounded military guys, some not great military guys. 5 years in, we wouldn't have had adamantine, but we had steel in Swampcavern year one. We had steel armor and weapons going by year 2. So by year 5, we would have had some master axe users by then. They would have trained up enough to be really good at what they do, and a few good crossbow teams. But that would have been about it. We would have only had a few spear guys, only a few hammer guys. Although they would have been using silver weapons and stuff, so that'd be going good. Yeah, there's such, I was all proud about making an adamantine axe for the justice, or adamantine hammer, and then we had a strange mood from a weaponsmith, and I got all excited, and they made an adamantine hammer, and I'm like, no, we already have one of those. And then we had a few more strange moods. We had steel strange moods that resulted in, I don't know, a steel door or whatever. But then we had another adamantine strange mood. And what did we get? Another adamantine hammer. And I'm like, oh man, you guys are just killing me. Are you doing this because I told you to make the one? Because it's like a cork bat or a foam bat. It's like a child's toy going around just bapping dwarves. Bap, bap, bap. But apparently the hammer that you assign to them is not the hammer they use for justice. And I saw someone point that out on a forum post, and I'm like, oh, well, that explains everything. That explains every fort where I've assigned one of those to them and they didn't use it. So I'm like, well, that's why that consistently kept happening. So yeah, I'm sure if I went and looked at the justice system right now, it'd be nothing but complaints about 10 years ago you sold something you shouldn't have, and more recently you didn't make something I asked you to, because the little message flashed across the bottom of the screen, and I just plain missed it. But let's see if there's any other famous dwarves walking around. Lucky the Peasant? No, I don't think so. Dabbling Animal Trainer. Lamoon the Siege Engineer. Well, you're legendary. You're a legendary Marks dwarf. Should we go look at either your skills or your kills list? Because that might be entertaining, either one. Mostly because a lot of these guys, they're great at stuff, and then they're good at things you wouldn't expect, and you ask them, when did you have time to do that? When in your dwarfy life? Yeah. I mean, the thing is, the artifacts in the game are one of my favorite things. I have these guys set to making jewelry artifacts, which are nearly as good as the ones they crank out in Strange Moods. And they're certainly as elaborate or more elaborate, because what they do is they take a jewelry thing out of the pile, they add a gem to it, and they put it back in the jewelry pile. And they're not real fussy about which is which. So some of them are new, some of them are the same ones over and over and over. The jewelry pile is only so big. So some of them get sold off from other jewelry piles, but some of them just get added over to ridiculous amounts, to the point where they even surpass the number of materials even my best artifacts have. I'm curious. Let's see, we get Lamoon here, and I mean, so he's a legendary Marks dwarf from his years of experience. He's a dabbling armor user, because he's not in that kind of combat very much. He's a Grand Master Siege Operator, because so many of my dwarves were firing catapults in preparation of firing siege weapons at the entrances of our forts. Oh, that sadly were never used, because nothing sufficiently big enough or powerful enough attacked us that we ever had the need to use our advanced siege entrances. So that was one of the downsides of this fort, was we prepared to fight large quantities of goblins, which then never all attacked at the same time, so we never used our best giant cave spider defenses, for instance. But so he's a Grandmaster Siege Operator. He's legendary Discipline and Observer, dabbling fighter, legendary archer. Oh yeah, see, the thing is with meals is you can do it from so early. I can never resist trading meals my first year, or sometimes even my second year, because I'm so desperate for money. But at the same time, I've made a trade goods industry and the gem industry, not because it's practical, but just because it's fun. And if you trade up a few good gem crafters, you might get a legendary one early on. And then you can start banging out super artifacts or sales things early on too, which is perhaps equally gamey or more. But oh, James is saying I should launch a dwarf for fun and science, which I easily could. I've got several drawbridges that they could be launched from, in the sense that I think they go up. But at the moment, I don't have anyone I dislike that much, and most of my drawbridges that go up also come down and smash. I don't think I have anyone I want to smash that much right now. I'll wait until someone really makes me mad. But yeah, so anyways, the Siege Engineer is a dabbling wrestler, dabbling striker. And why am I going through all these skills? It sounds kind of boring. Well, it's because I'm hoping to get to the funny ones. Like, oh, he's a furnace organizer. Oh, I guess this guy doesn't really have it. He's a dabbling appraiser. He'll tell you what your Antiques Roadshow artifact is worth. He's a dabbling organizer. Let's see. So, okay, so he doesn't have any of the really funny ones. What I was hoping for is some of my most advanced military guys are good at dancing, and not just good at it, but good at several dances. And then on top of that, they're good at poetry, and not just one form of poetry, but several. And I'm like, for the people who spend all their time on the surface swinging their axe, when on earth did you have time to become good at 5 different poems and 4 different dances? I mean, I haven't seen you doing it, but the only thing is they must have been doing it through time. They must have been dancing early on, and then the time I tried to make them dance, well, they probably did some of those times. And then some of the times they started to dance and then quit, and I just didn't see them because it happened so fast. And it all stacks up because there's a large number of times. Let's see. So let's see if I can maybe find someone. Well, I don't know. Maybe someone on the surface. Let's see. This is kind of bugging me. Oh, let me find one of my favorite people to talk about. Vet, the military captain. Let's see. Can we do kills? Yes. Now there's an interesting topic to talk about. Vet is one of our most venerable, longest lived. Holy crap. Vet was there when we cracked into one of the lowest level of caves, and there were a few cave swallow people sitting there. I know this history so well, and I have the kind of memory so well. In Swampcavern's earliest years, we got reports of cave swallow people fighting monsters in the bottom of the caves that, I don't know, we couldn't even see so far as I'm aware. But somehow we got reports of them anyways. And when we cracked into the lowest level caves, I sent my army over to say hello to the cave swallow people to see if they were peaceful or not. They were not peaceful. They immediately got into a fight, and my dwarves killed the cave swallow people. And being 5 years in, my guys weren't that good at it, so they got hurt. But so Vet here killed one of the cave swallow people from the year 5 of the fort's history. He killed a beetle woman who, I'm sure the beetle people couldn't talk. Not all the giant or the animal people are hostile. But the thing is, the animal people had the habit of blundering into our cages. And sometimes when we let them out of the cages, they were angry about it. For instance, one time I sent a small group of my military to oversee the cage opening ceremony to let 5 lizard people go. And we let 5 lizard people go from cages we had accidentally trapped them in. And 4 of them had the wisdom to just walk away, to just flee off the map immediately. They probably had a directive to do so. But one of the lizard people took one step towards my military, my small squad. I didn't send the whole military, just one squad. And that squad said, "That's it. You look scary and hostile." And they killed him on the spot. And in all fairness, he probably was hostile. He was probably angry about the whole cage experience. Maybe I didn't let him out fast enough. Maybe he'd been there too many months. He was a little hungry or cranky or whatever. And so this guy may have been set to one of those cage opening ceremonies, and the beetle woman wasn't happy about it, and the vet said, "Well, let's settle this my way," with a bolt of steel, probably masterfully made. This guy killed Nosu Hateblunt the elf. The elf. This elf has a goblin name, so I guarantee you he was working for the goblins. And so I almost guarantee you that this was one of the leaders of a goblin siege on the fort. So this is a rare elf indeed. We don't get too many of these guys. For some reason, the goblins liked the elves for their leadership abilities. So many, or perhaps all, of my sieges has always been led by an elf. There's a lot of conquered people in the goblins' territories. They've thrown a few goblins at me. They've thrown a bunch of humans at me. So Vet here, 5 notable kills, 107 other kills. I promise you, some of those 107 are also notable. Oh, yeah, I've got a person in the comments that mentions it's hilarious to sell out your clothing industry, to sell the caravans your dirty laundry. That's one of my favorite things to do in this game. We generate so much garbage, and we dump it off on the people in the caravans, and they cart it away. And the caravans like us because we accidentally sprinkle in, by mistake, a few valuable jewels or a few unused artifact level clothing items, along with all the garbage clothing, because we were too lazy to sort it out from the bins. And so that's kind of a recurring theme in the game. And I mean, I do